Okay, first of all,
A group of pickup artists recently descended on a shopping mall in Toronto, Canada, to commence with an activity known as beasting, that is to say, approaching every possible woman without restraint and attempting to hook up. The result was that mall security was heightened, the event was stopped in its tracks, and a wave of bad press for the PUA community ensued when women started reporting on being approached over and over again by guys with rehearsed pickup routines. It's been about 5 years since I commented on the pickup artist phenomenon, though I'm hesitant to refer to any mass display of such childish behavior as phenomenal. It is thus with trepidation that I approach the matter again, but this merits commentary. The creepy behavior exhibited by these pickup artists boils down to a toxic mixture of persistence, bravado, and boardwalk carny tricks, and is ultimately more akin to sexual harassment than anything else. To any PUAs foolish enough to think that their rights were somehow being violated by the event being shut down, rest assured they were not. The mall is private property, and the owners had every right to determine what sort of events would occur. Additionally, such a large-scale gathering is a security concern regardless of what group it is. The people patronizing the mall have every right to enjoy their shopping experience without being pestered by needy little also-rans. And to answer the inevitable straw man argument, yes, I would feel the same way about a mob of feminists or a mob of religious fanatics or any other group that would make the shopping experience difficult or undesirable. Now, would I have a problem with a social group that wants to partner with the mall to run some sort of speed dating event or other social event where all parties involved are going with the conscious purpose of meeting new people? Of course not. That is an above-board event which is happening with the consent of the mall owners and the consent of the attendees, and is no more an encroachment on the enjoyment of other shoppers than having a mall Santa at Christmas. Space is set aside for the event, and at worst the other shoppers have to walk around it. These pickup artist events, on the other hand, offer no such respectability. They are organized and carried out in a clandestine manner that is predicated upon deception and manipulation. This is unsurprising, however, because pickup artistry itself is predicated on deception and manipulation. Let us consider several core elements of PUA game that demonstrate this reality. Firstly, if you approach a woman and employ a false time constraint, or FTC, because everything in PUA lingo longer than one word must be abbreviated, then you are being deceptive on two levels. The first is inherent to the name. You have no intention of not taking up the woman's time. Taking up her time is exactly what you intend to accomplish. But more so, the FTC carries a deeper deception because it is not the first stage of generating interest, but of keeping her from realizing that you are not interesting. The false time constraint allows you to take advantage not of her interest in you, but of her sense of politeness and social grace. She is indulging your presence on the premise that you will not bother her for very long, and just because you are able to extend the length of her patience does not mean that you are generating interest. Secondly, if you must employ a neg, that is to say a backhanded compliment or veiled insult such as "I like your hair, who does your extensions," then you are not disarming her by making her think you aren't interested in her. You are simply trying to compensate for the fact that you don't have the confidence or appeal necessary to make her interested in you without tearing her down in the first place. The assumption that attractive women are all stuck-up bitches that need to be taken down a peg is a sexist delusion that would evaporate if you actually got to know some of them rather than pulling this shit. Thirdly, if you have to employ a DHV spike, that is to say a demonstration of higher value, then you don't have higher value. If your existence is one that merits higher recognition, then you won't have to make any special display of it. Just as your financial merit will be obvious if you're wearing nice clothes and drive a nice car, so will your human merit be apparent in your demeanor and personality. Women, on the whole, are not so stupid or unaware that you have to consciously embed these declarations of importance into what you say. Fourthly, not backing off when you're told to stop isn't game, it's just harassment, period. Fifthly, if you do succeed in getting some poor woman back to your swinging bachelor pad and she suddenly has reservations about what's happening, that is most likely because A, you got her there under false pretenses and she is now realizing what you had in mind all along and, by extension, that you are a deceitful person, or B, she is realizing that despite your promises to want more than just sex, you in fact want nothing more than sex. Sixthly, arguing that our brains are wired to respond positively to this sort of behavior is not a justification for your behavior. It is the logically flawed assumption that a thing is morally right simply because it occurs naturally. The impulse and ability to kill our fellow humans also comes naturally, but it is not accepted as inherently moral in modern society. Why? Because we have evolved well beyond our primitive instincts. What sets us apart from all other species is that we are capable of reason, logic, rationality, philosophy, and all of the other amazing outgrowths of the human mind that separate it from the brains of lower animals. To put yourself in the position of saying that you're just doing what comes naturally is to suggest that you're acting in a manner that is superior to moral judgment due to its adherence to the laws of nature, and what's worse, you're proposing that all women you encounter are similarly degenerate. Seventhly, there is no such thing as faking it until you make it. There is only faking it and making it. Whether or not you are successful in your pursuits will not erase the fact that they are predicated on lies and falsehoods, and the ends do not justify the means. The person who has made it, that is to say, attained the level of success and personal self-worth necessary to engender attention from potential romantic partners, did so by actually doing the things that merit value and develop character, and if you want to actually make it, then you will have to do those things as well. Faking it is not a necessary part of the process. I'm sure some of you will write in and tell me that you've seen these methods in action and know that they work, to which I would say yes, I'm sure that you have. Being a successful con artist does not justify the methods or actions used to get that way. People in the so-called seduction community who are hearing my words for the first time will probably be surprised to learn that I am actually an advocate for sexual freedom and encourage people to experience as many sexual partners as they are able and willing to have. Why then would I oppose the behavior of pickup artists? Well, for the same reason that I support free market capitalism but despise people like Bernie Madoff. Being in favor of freedom in any endeavor, be it love and sex or economics, is ultimately to champion the merit of the individual's worth and favor recognizing and rewarding their actual ability, not feeding into the demands of parasites. Those familiar with my work will know that I argue sexual freedom to be predicated on the same philosophical principles which justify the free market, and in accordance with those principles, I advocate for producers to be free of the parasites both in economics and sexuality. And it is for that reason that I, who have a passionate interest in sexual freedom, am on the side of the mall owners who chose to shut down this intrusion upon their property and the shoppers enjoying it. Just as a product worth owning does not require deception and manipulation to sell, so a person who is worth interacting with sexually does not require deception and manipulation to forge a connection. And rest assured, you now disgruntled PUAs who are hearing my words, I am not presenting these arguments out of a lack of understanding of your culture and ideas. I have read the books, I have watched the videos, I have done this for the sake of having an informed opinion, and I am bringing this up to help you understand that I don't need you inundating the comments below with lengthy recitations of the justifications that allowed you to swallow this bullshit. Rest assured, I've heard it all, and I am wonderfully adept at citing the idiocy within whatever idiocy you may present to justify your idiocy. Additionally, rest assured that my position will not be altered through accusations of virginity or any other facet of loserdom. Unlike you, I am not persuaded by bullying and peer pressure, and if you want to believe such things, you are free to do so. The inevitable question that I am asked after one of these rants, of course, is that if I'm so opposed to pickup artists, what advice do I have for the men who want to get laid but can't? Well, the simple answer is that I don't have any because I have no interest whatsoever in helping you get laid. We are not brothers united under a common banner simply because we both have pee-pee parts that point out instead of in. If you cannot get laid without using PUA methods, then my only advice is to consider something that is probably not going to sit well with you, but it is no doubt something that none of these self-professed dating gurus will tell you. Consider the possibility that maybe, just maybe, you aren't supposed to get laid. Imagine that. You are a biological organism that is wired to desire sexual involvement, but that desire does not create an obligation on the part of others to accommodate it. It is entirely possible that the human race at large has no interest in what meager erotic capital you may offer, and from a sexual standpoint, you are of no use to your species. If you propose, as you suggest, that there ought to be some sort of camaraderie that unites all men, consider that you might best serve that camaraderie by yielding to the sexual conquests of your betters. As you rot away your remaining days in the knowledge that you will be forever alone and that nobody owes you a goddamn thing just because you want it, you can learn to take satisfaction in knowing that your more sexually desirable brothers are out there unloading one batch of baby batter after another into the wombs of the world's most gorgeous and fetching receptacles. Just think of the future of mankind, which after a few generations will be devoid of the genes that produce potato-shaped heads, pear-shaped torsos, buttocks that are either too big, too small, or somehow both, low intelligence, whiny dispositions, severe halitosis, or whatever other factor is making you socially insufferable. If you are truly ready to embrace your newfound sense of duty and service to the betterment of humanity, then you may want to take active and permanent measures to ensure that your genetic material does not propagate further rather than just waiting out the clock. I hear drowning is the most peaceful method.